good, everybody? I hope everyone is doing well out there. We're going to be breaking down Faithful God by my good brother, Kel Bailey. And we're going to go ahead and get into the mix. So let's get into it. So I'm going to play y'all a little bit of this real quick from Kel Bailey, phenomenal artist, musician, producer. Let's play a little bit of this, and then we'll start to break it down.
Some fun on tonight. Whoa, whoa. Everybody clap, let's go. Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure. That God is faithful, yeah, 'cause He's the solid rock, in Him I put my trust. Strong and mighty, you have proved yourself to me, yeah.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure.
All right, just so you guys get a feel of the track. So my approach with this is literally bring out the production, make it speak and make out and let the song speak. So I didn't have to do a whole lot. So we're gonna start with everybody's favorite. We just go ahead and start with drums. So on the drums, I started out with getting the original drum straight. So I'm going to turn off all of these plugins, and then we're going to build this out together. So let's start with the kick drum. This is what I received. Okay, so that's what I originally got. So for those who know, you know, I always start off with the SSL G channel just because it literally gives me a fast track to where I want to be. We'll turn this on. All right, so starting to clean up the kick drum and get rid of the poofy thuddiness. And that's going to be around your low mids, around that 250, 300 hertz. That's going to get rid of that. And that's this area of the plugin right here. And then I'm enhancing some of the beater with this side of the EQ. And then getting some top end just a little bit. This is the magic side. And then this is the exponential sauce side. The compression and expansion. I don't really gate that much. I expand. And so the expander allows everything below a certain threshold to fade out. When it reaches that threshold, it lets everything in and then it fades it back out. So let's check this out. So that expanding is always a fire feature. If you don't have the SSLG channel, the way to accomplish this is start off with an EQ, roll off this area, this 250, and it depends on the kick drum that you have, and get rid of the unnecessary low mid stuff, and then go ahead and crank up the top end where the beater is. So your EQ curve should look roughly something like this, and then everything moving forward will just move right along. So the EQ graph that I have is going to look something like this. So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of that 5, and then we're going to boost about that 1K, and then get just a little bit of the top end of the kick. This is what that EQ curve is going to look like. All right. And then you can go into your DAW, whatever DAW you have. You can go into your dynamics. And then we have here an expander, and a gate. And same thing here. We're gonna put this into the more of the gate mode. So, the expansion mode. And so basically you can tweak these settings between your attack, your hold and threshold, and this will give you a certain way to gate the drums or expand. So in this case, we expanded. So that's what we're doing all in one plugin. That's why I love to use the SSLG channel, just because it has all of that built in. So that's going to be on majority of the drums. All right. So then let's start with the original snare that we have. And that's all I did with the original snare. I just rolled off some of this low end and some of the unnecessary top end that has the hi-hat content. So we just use that for one instance of the original snare. Now we have another version of the snare that's slammed. And that sounds like this. And what we have on there is the CLA 2A from Waves. So both the dry and the slam together. So you see how they're playing off each other. So next we're going to add one more instance of the snare top. And this is going to be a reasonable amount of the SSLG channel. This one is going to give us more of a transparent snare, what we're used to hearing. So let's listen to this. You hear how the snare is fading out? That's because of that expansion over in here. Then we have some crazy compression going on. We have like a 10-to-1 ratio. Then we have the threshold at about -12. So this is giving us some crazy action. That's where we're getting that slap and body from, as well as the EQ. So remember, we reduced 200 hertz from the kick drum, but we added 200 hertz on the snare drum as a contrast. We're going to be talking about that throughout this whole live stream. What we reduce, we can make up in other areas, all right, to have balance. So, and then on that, I actually added even more crispy slap top in on this snare as well. So all three natural snares plus the kick so far we have. All right, so now you're getting three versions of the original snare that gives us this nice complete capture. So then we have the snare bottom. My strategy with the snare bottom is to do the same thing I did on the snare top, but change the attack time on the compression on the SSLG channel. I'm going to play you what that sounds like. So let's come over here. Let's get rid of all of these for right now. Let's just listen to the snare bottom. Now I'm going to put the fast attack, turn it off. See how it gets punchier? Fast attack. Basically what it's doing is it's shaving off the initial transient. Is basically literally just slamming that to where you can't even really hear the attack at all. All you're left with is just the release. It's like a wah. Wah, wah, instead of pop, pop. So we have the pop from the top snares, and then we have the wah release of the bottom snare. And this gives you an aggressive balance. You get the aggression from the top, and then the release, decay of the snare from the bottom. Let's listen to everything together. It enhances that decay, so you have a good contrast. All right, so that's a really good strategy to use for top and bottom snares. So the rest is sort of simpler as I go down the drums. On the hi-hat, I literally had to do some surgical work because there was some bleed. There are some things I didn't like, and I wanted it to sound as transparent as possible. So we're going to take off all the plugins, and then let's listen to the hi-hat. Now turn the EQ on. You see how we're focusing on the hi-hat now? Let's turn it off. I'm basically getting the entire kit in the hi-hat mic. So this is why I had to find all of the frequencies where the rest of the kit was, take those out, and then boost where I found where the hi-hat was actually sitting. And that's how we got here. So this is why we talk about why we replace drums or why we use samples. This is one of those reasons, because the hi-hat was not isolated properly. So in order to keep the drums intact, I had to basically do an unusual amount of EQ for the hi-hat mic. Now, of course, when we add compression to this, we're going to add more emphasis on what else is happening around the hi-hat. So I couldn't do a lot of compression, but the amount of compression that I did do is basically to help hone and focus on the hi-hat. Now it's starting to sound like we got an actual hi-hat mic going. And that's as far as I could go with it. If I processed it anymore, we'd be in the danger zone. So the next thing we're going to do is talk about toms. Toms is done in layers. All right. The layer of the toms is first with the individual channel strips. I'm going to find a spot where we got all the toms going on. So let's come over here. Okay, so on the toms, just to, get through them, I give you guys a hack. A good starting point would is to use a preset. What you can do is go into the presets and then boom, oh snap, there's rack tom. So you could use that preset as a starting point and tweak it. So there's a hack for you guys. All right, try out the rack tom preset. It'll change your life. I did not use it. I'm using my own custom preset on this. So it says default. All I'm using this for is to get top in and expansion. All right, so the tom can fade in and out when it needs. You see what I mean? It just fades in when it comes in. So that's all I'm using that for. And that's happening right here in this area. And then just a little bit of top end around 8K. That's typically what I'm doing across all the individual toms. All right. So just to kind of make this go a little bit faster. Out of that, we're going into a tom's bus.
Mixing is a very, very hard art to master. I know because I've been trying to master this art for several years. That is one of the reasons why I do Mix Mondays. It's a learning environment, and every mix that I do, I learn something new. And I've taken everything that I've learned over the years and we have poured it into our mixing templates. Mixing templates are a great starting place, and we have created several templates that allow you to get up and going quickly, and we have created them for Logic Pro X. We have created them for Pro Tools, for Studio One, for Ableton Live, and so many others. So if you're interested in taking your mixing to the next level, or even just getting started, make sure you check out these links down and below in the description of this video and grab your template today. All right, back to the show.
And I usually like to start with CLA on the toms. And this, I love to use the treble bite setting in the CLA drums plugin from Waves. And that gives us this sound. All right, that's giving us a nice, I call them stadium toms. Those are really transparent. And it has a little bit of verb on it, a little bit of compression, and I like this a lot. And then next we have on the toms bus is some EQ. Just a little bit of more top end from the Pro Tools EQ. This EQ did wonders. Without it, now listen to it. It's like the tom attack woke up. It's like it was asleep, and then it is now arisen out of its slumber. So we bumped up to about 3K here and did a nice shelf where it's going all the way out. So with that, let's add in our overheads. And I put the overheads in the bus. And on the overheads bus, we have the VMR. And I had to reverse engineer this. So on the overheads, I rolled off all the low end using the Neve EQ. The API is sitting idle, but I am getting initial saturation from the virtual channel, VCC channel. I'm rolling off some of the top end as well because we have vocals. So again, whatever you make space, whatever you duck out, you have more space in another area. That's going to be the theme of the live, creating space. This is how you do it. So ducked out the low end, took off some of the top end, and compressed the overheads. This is what that sounds like. All right, let's turn it off. All right, see how much is capturing all of the drums. So I want the kick drum to have all the way up to 160. I want the bass drum to have that, and the actual bass player himself. So I'm getting rid of all of the conflicting frequencies. So we add that back in. And now, without any samples, this is where we are with our drums. All right, next, let's get into the effects. We have our snare reverb and then our drum reverb. And for the snare verb, I'm using the Renaissance reverb from Waves, and that's giving us the initial reverb. And then right after that reverb, we have our drum verb. And I'm using the plates, the A plate setting. And I believe it should be the first thing that pops up when you pull up this reverb. So both of these are working together to give us that sound. All right, and then what I failed to mention about the kick drum is we do have Pro EQ, and again, this is where I mentioned creating space. So I rolled off everything below 33 hertz on that kick drum. Okay, let's play that with the song.
Everybody clap, let's go.
All right, we're not quite done. If we want the drums to cut through the mix even more, we have to do another layer. And that layer is the drum bus processing. So we started with some EQ.
Everybody clap, let's go.
All right. Then we're going to add some compression from waves. This is the SSL bus compressor.
Everybody clap, let's go.
Then we're going to stop right there. We're going to stop right there, and then we're going to make our way back to the drum bus. As we can hear, the drums are there, but they don't feel like they're a part of the song. This is why we bring in samples. The samples add the sonics and character to allow these acoustic drums that are recorded in an acoustic environment to gel and blend well with non-acoustic instruments, synths, piano, special effects, all these other digital instruments. We add samples to help gel the digital and the analog sound together. So now I'm going to add the kick sample and the snare sample, and then we're going to talk about which ones I use in just a second.
Everybody clap, let's go.
Now you see how it sounds like we all are in one family. It doesn't sound like the drums were recorded in Studio A and the rest of the record was recorded in Studio B. It sounds like everyone is in the same space. That's what using samples can do to enhance your live drum performance. Now we're going to come back to our drum bus. Now that we have that, here's something that you probably haven't seen before in this specific way. I actually put a limiter on the drums. And the reason why I put a limiter on the drums is I was just talking to my boy John Mike about the transient content from live drums. They eat away at you being able to get a lot of gain from the drums because of the transient activity. When you apply a limiter on anything, you're basically telling the signal this is how loud or how high amplitude or dB you're going to get. At this level, I want you to come down and be this level. In this case, I brought the threshold down to -9.9, and I changed the output ceiling to be 9.9. The reason why I did this is because now this is going to give us the opportunity to get more gain out of the drums than we would have without it. So I'm going to show you that right now. I want you guys to pay attention to the levels on this. Okay, here's the drums. Here's without the limiter. All right, so we peaked at literally like 5 over here around the 5 dB area, the -5. We're almost at 0. Now watch what happens when I put a limiter on. Do you guys see that? You see the levels on my meter? You see it's not going anywhere above 10, -10. You see that? One more time for you. We peaked before almost at -5. And now we're not going above -10, but yet the drums sound louder at a lower volume. One more time. I'm going to turn it off. See this? -5. A little bit above -5. Now let's put the limiter on. Look at the levels. All right, this is why I put the limiter on the drums, literally to shave off those transients, and now this gives me way more headroom to work with in terms of gain staging. So take that, use it to your advantage. This works with percussive instruments, anything that has a lot of transient activity. This strategy will change your life. You're going to get a maximum louder mix. Now with that, the last thing we did not cover is parallel compression. All parallel compression is I am taking the drum signal, duplicating that signal, and compressing the duplicated version, compressing the life out of it. All right. And so what's happening here is I'm blending the compressed version of the drums, the overly compressed version, with the clean version of the drums. So that gives us more consistent energy, and more, you feel like you're literally in the drum cage or the baffle or whatever you want to call it, but you feel like you stepped right into the drummer's seat. Basically, this gives you that same intensity. So all in with everything, all the processing on the drums, reverb, parallel compression, here we are. All right, that's the drums. That's all we did. Now let's talk about the samples. You guys will be proud to know that you can get these samples from gospelproducers.com. You can use these and use these from Gospel Producers. All right. And I believe in the browser here, we are using Yosh Drum Warehouse. All right. So I believe this is volume 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. Feel free to step in if I'm wrong, but I believe these are from volume 2.
And we got the code and everything.
There we go.
The screen and everything as well.
There it is. So that's what I'm using on the kick. These 3 samples. All right, from Yosh Drum Warehouse volume 2. And then let's go to the snare triggers. We have some independent, but the main snares you're hearing is definitely Yosh Drum Warehouse. Those are the main ones that you're hearing. The rest of these are just reverb based snares. All right. So another trick you can do with snare blend. This is the last piece of the drums. The last thing you can do with snare blend is use a designated sample snare only for reverb. So you keep your original snare like this. You can use this as your main snare, and then you can use this snare as just a reverb. Like you don't need any of the dry signal at all. You could just dump this in reverb and just turn it up. That's another strategy as well. So if you come across a client that really is married to the original tone, then just send the sample snare to a reverb with no clean signal, all wet, and that'll give you a nice blend as well. And that concludes the drums. All right, so next we're gonna get into the loops. I didn't group the loops because there weren't a lot of loops. And shout out to Kell and the producer for summing their loops. We're not going to go into pity mode or petty mode. But I just want to highlight that I only had like 3 loop tracks instead of like 30. So shout out to Kell for that. This is how you should send your loops, people. Everything is in there. Everything I need is in the I don't need to separate the kick, and I don't need to do that. I don't need to have those. All right. He already captured a whole sound and vibe. Let's go over here. You guys don't have any idea of how much of a stress reliever this format of sending your loops is. I'm telling you. Because when they say they want more of the loop, the producer has already captured the levels, the compression, the sound has already been made. The only thing I have to do is turn it up or turn it down. That's it. So look at the EQ work, barely nothing on the loops. Just roll up. That's it. So sometimes in mixing, we think we need to have a million plugins on stuff. That's not the truth. The plugins should be on the individual files that created the sound. But when we get it, we only have to do this. That's all the processing on the drum loop. I kid you not. We got the cowbell. See, there's nothing here. Probably should have been. Probably could have rolled off the low end on that, just to be safe. But yeah, that's the most that I would do for that. And same thing with the chimes over here for percussion. And look, they already did the work themselves. Look at the EQ graph. See that? It's already been rolled off. So again, shout out to Kell and the producers on the record to make this simple. And that's all I got for you on the drum loops. That's it. I mean, I didn't need to compress it. Look at the loop itself. Look at the consistency of the transients. There's no need. So that's it. We can move on to bass. I mean, it's funny because you would think I had a million plugins on the drum loop.
Nah, Doc. If it sounds good, it sounds good.
That's it. All right, the bass, I had to do a little bit of work. This is the bass as is. I'm gonna walk you through this. First line of defense. What did I tell you about kick drums and basses? You're not gonna hear a bass that has anything below 50, 45 hertz, unless it's an 808 or a synth bass. But a real bass, if you got 33 hertz on a real bass, I can't justify a rev. So I rolled it off. I can't justify it. So here's what we have with the bass cleaned up. Let's start over here. All right, now I'm justifying the tone of the bass. Now I'm going to, when I think of compression, I think about cementing something. It's like, all right, I'm going to seal it with something now. I made a move and I want to seal it. So I'm going to seal it with compression. At the most, -3 gain reduction on this compressor. Then we got some thermal. This is to make the bass sound mean. So what this is allowing me to do is have an aggressive version of the bass and a clean version of the bass by using this knob. We're at like 39% right now. So here's what it sounds like completely wet. Back to 30%. So it's subtle. So let's put this back at 39. This is just basically a distortion plugin from Output, and it's really good. The next thing I did is I added more harmonics to the bass by using an exciter. It sounds a hot mess by itself, but I promise you, you throw it in with the track, it's gonna sound completely different. Then we just use a little bit of R bass. Remember, we took away everything up to 45, so I added just a little bit of the sub. This is artificial sub. All right, artificial sub intelligence, ASI. And what this does is give you the illusion of there's more activity than what it really is. So this is really good. You can see just a little small amount of it. So let's play the bass with the track now.
GospelProducers.com.
Without it,
In him I put my trust. Strong and mighty, you have proved yourself to me. In him I put my trust. Strong and mighty.
you can see how each plugin that gets added, now the bass starts to become more transparent. Like, oh, there's more, or there's the low end of the bass, there's the mid range of the bass. Oh, there's the whole bass. So that's where this chain come in. That's where this chain came in. And that's pretty much it on the bass. We have synth bass on top of this. Distortion is going to help you with bass, whether you like it or you don't like it. A form of distortion, or excuse me, harmonics is a form of distortion. So I'm adding more grit to it so we can actually hear that there's a bass. That's the original. Thermal. Again, it sounds silly by itself. Same thing. I rolled off all the bottom end that's unnecessary. Let's play this with the track now. Turn it off. It's there, but it's not quite there. It's there, but not quite. Turn on thermal. It's like, oh, there's the bass. There it is. You can hear that on your iPhone, computer speakers, by adding this nasty distortion sound. That's how we can tell there's a bass. We're going to talk about an overarching topic with creating space. We're going to add one more thing to that, and I'm going to come back around to it. Let's talk about guitars for just a short second. And then we're going to go into the overarching topic, because guitars is going to segue into this beautifully, trust me. What we want to do is go into the EQ. Okay, the distortion has already been added from the source. All right, so all I've done is stayed true to what the original guitar was. Then we added some compression for consistency. So then we have these layers, the rhythm layers, which is down here. Oh, there's some automation going on. We're going to talk about that too. I actually didn't touch those at all. And I did a fail-safe EQ roll off here. So even though these are not rolled off, it's rolled off on the whole bus in general. All right, that's a hack. So if you don't see anything on the individual channels, if you see it blank, that's because it's most likely routed to a track stack or an IE a bus. So let's do this with that in mind now, because the rest of this is pretty much in the same vein of the rhythm guitars. Okay, those are the dubs with the lead. All right, now let's compress the whole guitar bus. Remember, that's the cement. We decided to seal it with compression, mild compression. And then let's come over here. This is the CLA guitars. And this literally takes that recording into the raw recording of the guitars to sound like it's a part of the record. Big difference. Off. Turn it on. Let's play it with the record. Let's play it with everything. All right. The message is the mix is always in the mid-range. Your whole song lives in the mid-range. Everything you do lives in this domain. We're going to roll off to about 150. And then we're going to roll this off to about 2 to 3K max. Let's be more reasonable, 3,500. This is your mix.
Beyond what I can see.
All right. You got to get your mix sweet in this range. This is all you got. The rest is high fidelity. All right. They say when we come out of the womb as kids, as babies, our ears are naturally inclined to listen for voices. So our ears perceive voices, and the voice range is always going to live around this area. This area right here, your 500 to 2K, and it starts to roll off. This is what we naturally perceive as loudness. So with that said, you got to work your mid-range. So having guitars will allow you to cover mid-range content in your songs. So it's good to use guitars. But that's the underarching theme over the overarching theme, which is we talked about create space. Now, with that, we're creating space. I rolled off 2K. What did I say about the human voice? Usually resonates the loudest around the 1, 2K, sometimes 3K, but mainly 1 to 2K. So I rolled off 2K because I'm saving that space for the vocals. I want the audible human voice to be heard at 2K. That's where you recognize the loudness of the vocal, 2K. So I rolled that off of the guitar so the vocals can have that. Cause and effect. And that's pretty much it for guitars. That's pretty much it.
Yo, that's wow. That's wild. You know what else is wild? The fact that you probably haven't heard of Peculiar Sounds yet. Listen, if you need those unique, soulful sounds to really bring a track to life, then Peculiar Sounds V2 has just what you need. We're talking signature keys, synths, pads, plus hundreds of MIDI files that make it super easy to jumpstart your creativity. All of these are curated and sampled by the one and only legendary Doobie Powell. It's perfect for gospel, R&B, or any genre that needs that rich type of vibe. And guess what? It works with any DAW. It's standalone, all of those things like that. So if you could do me a favor, jump down in the description, head on over to gospelproducers.com and take your sound to the next level. All right, back to the show.
We're going to move on to keys now. We're going to move on to keys, and then we're going to talk about how to reconcile the keys and the vocals living in the same area in terms of the frequency spectrum. So let's go into the keys and let's talk about it. What we have here is a piano and Rhodes layered together. So it's carrying a lot of frequency content. So first line of defense, roll off your low end that is not going to damage the original feeling. Okay, I'm flipping it on and off, and you probably can barely tell the difference. I'm being generous. I'm being very, very generous. Usually you see a brick wall sometimes. I'm very generous with keys. I understand there's some spots where you're playing some bass notes, like in the intro. Hear that? I believe that's A, that low A. I'm very generous. If it gets out of control, you get in the brick wall. But in this case, it wasn't nothing crazy. Like, it wasn't like he's pounding on the low end or anything, so we're good. We seal it with compression. Barely any activity right now. You'll come over here. All right. And then enhancement, vitamin. This is how I reconciled the keys and the vocals living in the same space. I used a different form of EQ. This is like a dynamic multiband spreader EQ. So what this is going to do is give us presence dynamic presence with a multiband. You see that 1K getting some love. A little bit of 2K. But mainly the 1K. So I'm saving the 2K for the vocal. Again, same principle. Cause and effect. I know that we got a vocal. I know it's going to sit around 2K. The human voice is literally, if you boost 2K on any vocal, you're going to hear more presence of that vocal getting right up close to you, like they're talking in your ear. So that's it with the keys. It's sent to the music reverb, and that's just about it. We have an instance of Rhodes on the back end of this. Same thing, just roll off the low end. That's it. Then we got organ next. Going to the music verb, and that's it. Just EQ. Not even any compression on the organ at all. Just left it dynamic as possible. I'm going to talk about that more. Now we're going to get through the keys and aux, and then I'll give you my general overall view. So we're just going to put a pin on that. Why didn't I put compression on the organ? We're going to put that in the pin. Let's move on. So we got some synth brass here. Same thing. All right, that's in there. We got our aux lead. Again, just EQ, no compression. We got some bells. Roll off. All right, horns. And these sound like session horns. This I did add compression on. And that's that classic horn sound, like that compressed. Gives you that kind of sound. That's the typical gospel horn sound that you want. You hear that? When people describe horns, they usually use that articulation. But that on top of it is a very aggressive sound. So use compression. It literally sounds like how I said it. Cuts through where it's not disturbing, but it's still there. It's not overbearing, but it's there. Let's go later in the song. All right, it's a layer that's still there. It's ever present. Compression is helping us with that. On the back end, we have some strings. Same thing, just a roll off. And then we just have some crowd stuff, automation. We're going to talk about automation in all of that. I think that's all we have for this. Is just the crowd stuff. All this is production stuff at this point, guys. So if you want to know more about that, that's more on the production side. On the mixing side, it's not sexy at all. It's just roll-offs, literally, and that's it. So we should be good to, and that's more crowd stuff. We should be ready to get into vocals. So let me talk about why I didn't use compression on the organ, why I didn't use compression on the synth brass and synth leads. I didn't use compression on these two because, one, I can tell these are digital. It has built-in compression on it. Look at the waveform. It's not that much of a difference from when he gets lighter and louder, so I didn't need compression on that. Also, organ can be a very dynamic instrument. Now, typically, it depends on if it's real organ, computer organ, whatever. But in this case, it's very organically compressed. So when he's doing his filler stuff in certain spots, let me see if there's any automation so we can talk about that too. Yes, there is. Right over here.
Even when we're unfaithful to him, he still remains faithful to us. If you can just...
Do you hear how natural that sounds? It sounds like it's breathing. It sounds like there's no compression because there isn't. It sounds very natural. When you use compression, you take away the life of a thing sometimes. And if you take away the life of it, you are emotionally no longer connected to it. So this,
even when we're unfaithful to him, he still remains faithful to us. If you can just pause.
It has a lot of emotion to it. A small, simple line has a lot of emotion connected to it because it's breathing. That's natural life. I naturally went in and automated that gain instead of just clip gaining it. This is all natural, and this is where automation comes in. If this thing got way out of control dynamically, like if I saw something like this on the back end, and then I saw something like this in the middle, boom, and then I saw something like this, this needs compression. You see what I'm saying? That needs compression because that's way too much content to try to keep up with in terms of volume. So since everything is sitting around the same space and it's consistent, I didn't need any compression. Same thing with the synth. Look at the synth. It's the same volume. It's already a synthesized instrument that has its own compression built in.
You are faithful, God. Yeah. You're so faithful.
And the overall mix sounds like it's breathing, like it has life, and that's because of the compression variance. Same thing with the synth leads. These are very consistent. This goes back into somebody was talking about the performance. The performance overall means they have some form of skill, dexterity, because these waveforms are very consistent. You don't have to reverse engineer that.
You sound to me. You are faithful.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like it's a good, healthy blend. Same thing with the bells. I didn't compress the bells. Let's play that.
I put my trust strong.
It's breathing. It sounds natural. I'm starting to beat a dead horse, but you can feel it. You don't feel like you're disconnected dynamically. So now with the horns, we talked about that. That's more of we're creating a sound, especially with we're creating that sound. If without it, it's kind of there, but it's not as punchy. We're leaning into its character, so it needed that compression. So it's on a case-by-case basis. Dynamics, automation, we're going to talk about this a lot more in vocals. I'm controlling an element of this performance. I'm I'm in the sound man in the back, bringing in the fader button and the fader itself, and I'm manually bringing this in.
Y'all ready to have some fun? Are you ready to have some fun on tonight? Whoa.
See that? So I'm driving the performance. All right. So it gives you more feeling. I'm big on this now. I wasn't as big in the past, but now I'm exceptionally big on automation, creating a feeling. I felt that. You get goosebumps. That comes from life, adding life into the mix, which is sometimes heavily on automation. So are we ready for vocals? This is going to get very complex, but simple after it gets complex.
Yeah. Just wanted to highlight a few comments here, and we got, I think, maybe a couple of questions. Joel says, Yaahn, do you have perfect pitch?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Let's see. And then we had somebody else in the Facebook group that said, what are you putting on music for a music verb, I guess?
Yeah, good question, because I did blaze over that. That's the same. The plates from the Verb Suite Classics from Slate Digital.
Yeah. Joel also said those keys are rich, my God.
You gotta. One thing I know about Kell is
Kell can play some keys now.
See, and again, that's why I didn't. You see, I'm not. Look at my EQ.
Yeah.
You know, he's used to hearing it that way. So what I'm gonna do is honor it, get it under control, and look at the waveforms again. Why do I use compression versus when I don't? Look at this excerpt of the song, and then look at this excerpt of the song.
Yep.
So, and then this is just literally like a juice knob. Y'all catch that a long time from now. Don't worry about that. But this is juice. This is juice. And this is not EQ. It's not, okay? This is dynamic EQ. So it's EQing it, but with dynamic control under the hood built in.
Smart.
So I'm not changing his sound. I'm honoring it. So yeah.
Yeah. Braxton, I guess he was talking about organ. He sees organ. Organ is in there.
Yeah.
Which is you don't typically see on CCM records a whole lot nowadays. You don't see, CCM styled records,
Yeah.
We'll call them that. Kell says it's the Logic organ.
Bro, yes. I mean, you could tell it's getting the job done. And again, the benefit of virtual organ is it has built-in compression.
Yeah. It does.
So
Super dope.
You don't have a lot to reverse engineer.
And Kell says he might have to do a production breakdown. Let me holler at you, Kell, first.
Yeah.
I like the spotlight that stuff. Everything is content. Content is everything. I think that's all for this moment. That's all I got. You can proceed on into the next phase, which would be these amazing vocals.
For sure. So I got a vocal stem for BGVs. However, I still do have a chain on them. So it is a vocal stem. So whoever did BGVs, again, they created a sound that they wanted. So they printed it. I always recommend, if your sound sounds good and it is the sound that you want, print it, and you'll get that. So, vocals. So let's go into the lead vocal and let's go into Kell's vocal and sort of dissect this.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure, that God is faithful.
Okay, so what we're going to do is reverse engineer. So I'm going to start with the EQ. There it is. The missing 2K we've been looking for all this time. That's how his vocal is able to cut through. I was able to carve out space from all the stuff we saw earlier. It's the overarching thing is space and cause and effect. So there's the EQ for that.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure.
All right. Seal it.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure.
All right. Now, Enhancement. This is the new plugin, Pultec by Waves. Their emulation of it. We're getting 4 dB of 10K.
Beyond what I can see,
Top end.
I know one thing's for sure.
So now we're getting the 2K and the 10K with the rest of the frequency spectrum unaffected outside of rolling off everything below 102. That's what's happening in this chain. So seal it.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure.
Now we're going to get into layering compression, multiband compression. This is allowing me to emphasize certain frequency bands and allow them to dynamically stay consistent outside of the whole vocal. So I'm compressing everywhere from 128 to 1K 2K, 8K, and then I'm slamming 16K and above. That's where your sibilance and it just gets to be too much. So
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure.
now typically I wouldn't go for this. It starts to sound like a megaphone vocal, but when you have horns, synth leads, organ, keys, guitars, all of that content is taking up majority of the frequency spectrum, and you don't want to change the sound of some of these themselves. Like I've honored it, nothing on the organ. So the only way to compensate for that is to literally overcompensate and excite this 2 to 4 somewhat AK.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure.
And what this is going to do is allow him to sound like, again, he's inside the song.
Beyond what I can see, I know.
Let's bring the verb back in. So the verb is the H-Verb. Stock settings pretty much. H delay. Ping pong. Did some rolling off over here. High pass, low pass. Okay. So let's add that into the scenario when I talk about adding him into the song.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure. That God is.
In the past, I would usually stop there and be like, oh, that vocal sounds good. But wait, if I add more air and a de-esser, we get this.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure.
Now it sounds like the vocal is a little bit more complete. So let me take you under the hood with that. We actually took off some of the top end on this. Not much, 0.6 dB. And then I didn't end up using the fresh air. So I actually reverse engineered this a little bit. Then we have a de-esser that's catching all of that. And by the way, this is by PSP. And this is the precursor. And then Fresh Air is by Slate. This is free 99. The de-esser is from Waves to catch those beyond what I can see. I know one thing's for sure. All of that is catching all of that.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure.
We're in check. CLA vocals. Here's where things get a little interesting. So I added some, a little bit of verb, barely noticeable, slap delay, and everything else is flat.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure.
And then we just have some saturation on the back end, some VMR. And that's pretty much the same vocal chain for all of the other vocals. It's going to be the same thing.
Beyond what I can see, I know one thing's for sure. That God is faithful. Yeah, 'cause he's the solid rock. In him I put my trust. Strong and mighty, you have proved yourself to me. Yeah. Beyond.
Okay. And then what you see here is dynamic enhancements along the way.
He's the solid rock. In him I put my trust. Strong and mighty, you have proved yourself to me. Yeah.
Behind
All right. What's happening here is the natural gain writing.
He's the solid rock. In him I put my trust.
This gives you more of a natural vocal. Instead of like, oh, I need to squash it some more. Let's compress it so I can get more out of it and I can just turn the whole thing up. Again, life. This is natural. I want you to feel his vocal getting more present as he closes out his statement. I want to feel that. It sounds real natural. We got some more automation happening here. Then we have a ton of automation on Mariah's vocal. All right, a ton. We got a lot going on over here.
Behind what I can see.
Same vocal chain, but minor adjustments along the way. The same chain. So you're not missing a whole lot. Now, on this one, I did bump the high frequency up on hers.
Behind what I can see, I know one thing's for sure. God is faithful. Oh, he's a solid rock.
So again, we got all the keys and instruments and all that stuff down in here. So instead of boosting this area for her vocal, I actually cut that out because, again, we got to fight with all these other instruments, hi-hats, guitars, keys, aux, organ, etc.
Behind what I can see, I know one thing's for sure. God is faithful. Oh, he's a solid rock.
She's consistent. All right. She's cutting through, especially when we come over here.
And I thank you for being a faithful God. Time and time again you show me that you're faithful. You're so faithful.
All right. To keep her consistent, that's why we did what we did. All right. And a ton of automation to highlight certain things, like over here.
He's a solid.
All right. Because she's singing all of these soulful licks on top of the musicians spazzing out. And she's singing nice, calm, soulful licks. Compression is not going to get you that automation. You got to ride it. There's no way around it. Let's go into the male vocal. Jeremy.
Is that even when we're unfaithful to him, he still remains faithful to us. If you can just pause a moment and reflect, look back and think of all the things that God has done for you, the ways that he's made, the doors that he's opened for you. Even when you didn't deserve it, he's still the God that consistently comes through for you. All I have needed, thy hands have provided. Great is thy faithfulness. Listen, you are faithful and your mercy endureth. You are faithful and your mercy endureth. You are.
Told you about that 2K. So again, I know that's where they're gonna be. We got tambourine, shakers, and all that stuff to compete with. So I made sure I did my due diligence on the de-esser.
Is that even when we're unfaithful to him, he still remains faithful to us. If you can just pause a moment and reflect, look back and think of
The shaker and his siblings are now under control, from the loop to his top end. So de-essing is kind of crucial for this type of thing when you have a lot of those. What's happening here is I took out the delay on his vocal while he's talking, so I'm gonna solo his vocal.
the mystery and the beauty of God's faithfulness is that even when we're unfaithful to him,
all right. So then when we come over here,
you are faithful and your mercy endureth. You are faithful and your mercy endureth.
now the delay is back on.
You are faithful and your mercy endureth. You are faithful and your mercy endureth.
Okay. So again, automation. We're going in and out of spaces. It's a breakdown. So same. I believe we have the same vocal chain we do. And we automated also the CLA vocals as well to get rid of the slap delay. So we kept it clean. That was per Kell's request. And then the BGVs, well, they were already printed.
Faithful God, faithful God, faithful God, you're so faithful. Faithful God, faithful God,
Faithful,
right, so as I was doing, I wanted you to hear the evolution of the vocal while the track was playing, so you get context. Now I'm gonna break it down. So again, same EQ. We copied and pasted the EQ from some of the other vocals, but did some custom treatment to get this intact. So this is gonna sound silly.
Faithful God, faithful God, faithful God, you're so faithful. Faithful God, faithful
Air,
God,
top in,
faithful God,
compression,
you're so faithful.
a little bit of shing,
Faithful God, faithful God,
de-essing.
faithful God, you're so faithful.
Now let's add the verb and delay, and we're using the same thing on the BGVs. H-Verb and H-delay on the BGVs. No ping pong on this, just straight regular delay. And that gives us
Faithful God, faithful God.
add it in with the track.
Lift it up, say faithful. You are a faithful God. And every time I turn around, you're faithful, faithful.
You are, and I thank you for being a faithful God.
Now what I could do is let's try to attempt to add the body back. Let's see how that sounds, and you'll see why I did what I did. Listen to this.
Lift it up, say faithful. You are a faithful God. And every time I turn around, you're faithful, faithful.
You
Lift it up, say faithful. You are a faithful God. And every time I turn around.
So I did that because I wanted that space to be for the lead vocals to have that space, and then eventually the mix will start to sound a little muddy, adding that band back in. So I saved that space for my brother Jeremy. Save that space for him, and then I also save that space for Kell. I save that space for them. So they have that space, and then the BGVs have to take a little bit of a back seat because of everything that's going on. We got guitars, we got all this stuff, and then we're running out of space. So to combat that, the last thing we have on here is the exciter. And there's the space that I cut out. I put it back. There's all that 3 to 1K. I put it back with using an exciter.
Lift it up, say faithful. You are a faithful God. And every time I turn around, you're faithful, faithful.
are, and
Big difference. Let's put the exciter back.
Lift it up, say faithful. You are a faithful God. And every time I turn around, you're faithful, faithful.
Now we have the blend that was missing from this 572 that we ducked out. We put it back with an exciter. I decided to use an exciter because this will give me the illusion of me boosting this frequency spectrum. It gives me the fake illusion of it. I sort of am boosting it, but with harmonics. Excitement is basically taking that range, that frequency spot that you, or band that you've chosen, and it adds harmonics to it. It adds a third, a fifth, minor 7 in the frequency range of each band that you choose, and that gives you the illusion of, oh, I just boosted the lower register. No, not quite. We saturated it instead. All right, so that gives me more presence. Now, we didn't use any saturation on any of the vocals the same way. So we have an open lane, wide open lane for BGVs to be saturated. And that's how I was able to recover this scoop down. And that, I believe, oh, and we have parallel compression on the BGVs. Same thing, take the processed BGV, send it to an aux, and blend the compressed version of the BGVs with the clean version. All right, and that's the mix, ladies and gents. That is the mix.
Yo, I hope you enjoyed this exclusive clip from our Mix Monday live streams. We do these live on Monday nights, so make sure you grab the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss it when we go live. If you want to check out more of these, check out this playlist right over here. And if you're interested in taking your mixing or production to the next level, check out the templates and the links that we have below. I'll talk to you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace.